a business where somebody had an idea, an entrepreneur, and found me as an angel investor in his second year. We're now in our 10th year. I came into the business, I helped with financing, I supported him. He was a complete stranger to me. And we've built it into a business now that has had over 5,000 students. This year we'll be going out to 10,000 more. We have students from over 35 different countries, all because a business person had an idea and went out to look for financing. So I'm hoping to share with you what that experience was like and why it is he was able to attract me as an investor, and then how he's been able to grow this business. We now call each other co-founders because we've been together so long, but there's a lot to learn in there for you as you try to grow your business. The other thing that I have as experience is I'm on the board of Centum. Centum is a listed means it's on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, the East Africa Stock Exchange. It is a public company. I'm the vice chair, and we invest in all kinds of businesses. We are the developers of 2 rivers in Nairobi in Kenya. We've also built Pearl Marina in Garuga in Uganda and Vipingo in Kenya. And in addition to that, I'm just coming off the board of Absa Bank of Kenya. So also being on a bank, also a listed bank, and being in charge of the credit committee where we made the decisions in which businesses get a loan or not. So you can see I have very deep experience in this area of finance. But one of my big passion is people who do business and how it is that we can give you the honor and support that you need. If you're running a business on the African continent, I bow down to you because it is a challenging thing. We say TIA, this is Africa. And so running a business is not easy here. So if you're somebody who has this ambition, we're here to tell your story and help people give you the support and the respect that you need, because you're doing a very important thing. More than anything else, Africa wants jobs. We need jobs, and you guys are the job creators. So we want to be here for you. So we'll go into this immediately. We can go to the next slide. Great. And we're going to be talking today about, let me say 2 things mostly. So the first thing is we're going to talk about a framework that I have, which is my scale-up framework. Because I have been in a position where I've started businesses from scratch and built them into a process where they scale into relatively large businesses. At ADMI, for example, we have over 80 employees, 80 to 100, depending on the season. And that company started from an idea in my partner's head. So really, this process of scaling, and we're only at the beginning because we have a vision to do much more. I've told you in this coming year of 2024, we'll be training 10,000 people more. So that process of scaling, over time, I have looked at this and other businesses that I know, and I have developed a framework that can help you apply this as you look at your own business and think about how to grow it. So these scale-up pillars have different elements, but from there, one of the pillars is about money. So I'm going to pull it out and we're going to go deep into the money pillar. So next slide. What are the 7 scale-up pillars? I want you to think about this as a business person. I have said that we respect, we value, we support business people, but it doesn't mean that business is for everybody. Before you do all of those things and enter up into your scale-up pillars and asking all these other questions I want to ask you, we're going to go for a moment in the slides to come on why you. So here, would you like to ask something?
Yes,
no?
I'm not really add something. I just wanted to say that for the French people, please take it a bit slower so that they can follow. So the interpreter can follow. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right, I'll slow down. Thank you. So when people are comfortable in a language, they sometimes do this. Okay, so I have explained that I have quite a history in building companies from small to large. I have been involved in banks where we are lending to companies. This is Absa Bank. I've been involved in investment companies such as Centum Investments, which is also a listed company in Kenya that has invested in real estate and in companies. And in addition to this, I'm an angel investor. An angel investor is when somebody comes with a business idea, very early stage, and they convince you to put money into their business. We'll talk more about this, and then you grow the business together. So I have all this experience. And from this experience of growing companies, my own and other people's companies, and even from my experience of making many mistakes, I have come up with a framework, a methodology, which I want to share with you. And this methodology has 7 pillars. We call scale up. Scale up is the different from startup. Startup is when you have an idea and you start a business. Scale up is when you have a business that's operating, but you're really trying to think about what is my strategy to make it a big business, to make it a small and growing business, then a medium business, and then a big business. So that process of scaling up, over time, I have looked at these different things and it come up with 7 different stages and questions that I want you to ask as you think about how to scale up. If you want to know more about me, because I can't go too much into the story, you can look me up under @Laila_Macharia. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on the internet. So you can follow me there @Laila_Macharia. And I talk about these issues so you can learn much more. I have said that there's 7 scale-up pillars, but today I'll give you a quick overview of them, but I'll only go deep into 2 because we don't have too much time. The first scale-up pillar is me. I always say that before you go into any endeavor, whether it's employment, whether it's marriage, whether it's parenthood, whether it's starting a business, always start with me, yourself. Try and go into your decisions with an examined mind in a thoughtful way. And always go into every decision and throughout your life, knowing yourself very well. And we'll talk about this in a minute. The second pillar is your market. You need to understand who is my customer. We always say when we're talking about the market, you say, who is my customer? You have to know them so well. You have to know their pain points. You have to know their aspirations. You have to know why it is. You know, we always say that for somebody to take money out of their pocket that they have worked for and give it to you is a very difficult thing. So you have to understand, why is this person giving you their money? And you have to understand how many of those customers exist and what are they ready, able, and willing to pay? Because this will allow you to count the number of people who are there, and this will be able to tell you how big your market can be. So market is a very important thing. The next thing is your model. What is my business model? Is it B2C? Is it B2B? Is it freemium on the internet? Is it a platform business? You really have to understand this. And if it is your desire, you have to understand if your business model is scalable. We'll talk about desire in a minute. Then money, you have to understand your money. How am I paying for all this? What does everything cost? What does it sell for? What is my profit? After I get my profit, how much is given to taxes? How much is left for me? Ladies, do not do a business where you're taking nothing home. The whole point of your business is for you to have a better life. Pay yourself first. You need to have money that makes your life better. So money is a very important part. And that one, as I said, later in the presentation, we're going to go deep into money. Management, you have to know, this is the other pillar, number 5. How will I be organizing my resources, the product that I'm making or the service I'm providing? Do I have employees that I have to lead? Am I doing it myself? Do I have outside sourced suppliers? And how am I going to manage the operations? Then metrics. Do not go into a business when you don't know what to measure. You don't know if you're succeeding. Many people work for years, sometimes even 10 years, before they really ask, what did this business do for me? Not just from money point of view, but even for my life. So we will say that before you go into business, especially as you start to scale up, you've got to know what data it is that you're measuring and how you're tracking success, progress, and when you know from those metrics that it's time to change course, because your data will tell you when you're doing a lot of work and getting nothing, it's time to change. But if you're not tracking, you will find out too late when you've already wasted years and years. Finally is momentum. Even if you have all of this and your business is doing very well, you have come to see over time that messaging is very, very important. Messaging to your internal staff that the best is yet to come. Messaging to the outside message that the best is yet to come. So sometimes, especially as you become successful, it is possible that you can become a bit complacent. Momentum is in the form of new partnerships, new announcements, always doing something new, going into new markets so that who work for you and your customers and your regulators and all your stakeholders know this business is moving, it's shaking, it's on fire, right? So always show momentum because it inspires people inside your business and people outside your business to keep moving. So those are my scale-up pillars. We can go to the next slide. And in this next section, we're going to talk a little bit about slide me. Let's go into the next slide from this. This is you thinking. You thinking. Next slide. Okay. I said before you do anything in life, and I have a lot of content on this because me is a very, very important topic. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be in the right place where you're meant to be. So we have a method where we say that before you do anything in life, first know yourself. When I say this, what I mean is all of us, by the time we've reached here to be sitting in this webinar, because we're adults, we've been through a lot. We've already had joys. We've already had suffering. Some of us have had very devastating losses. And we come here as a sum total of all that experience. The first thing I tell young people especially is invest in understanding and knowing yourself. There are especially something we call blind spots, where you have certain insecurities, certain fears, certain triggers that you don't understand, which makes it very possible for other people to manipulate you. So you need to understand, we say your baggage, are there experiences in the past that you're carrying into your future? There's things like battles. Is there something I'm always struggling with that I find hard to overcome? There's also all kinds of biases. This one, all humans have biases, but you also need to know your own so that you're able to see yourself as if from outside. We call these the Bs. You have to know your Bs, your battles, your baggage, your biases, so that you're able then to be able to move forward. And when you're in a negotiation or in a relationship, you know whether it's you that's the problem or it's somebody else. A sign of an immature person is someone who says, it's always other people. It's my country. It's my employer. It's my husband. Everybody else is the problem. It's my parents. Know yourself, know your weaknesses and your strengths. We always say you focus on your strengths most, but know your weaknesses. Again, we won't get into me. It's a lot of content. But why me is important when you're coming into the decision of a business. Please know what you're looking for when you come into a business. By this, I mean, remember, we're not yet getting into examining the business itself. We're still at you, because I can see in the comments, we haven't yet got into the business yet. I'm saying before you get into the business and its scale-up process, you need to do some work to look at yourself and understand, why am I in this? One of the things we ask more than anything, especially for women, is, do you want to be rich or do you want to be queen? It's a very common saying. What does this question mean? It says that if there's many different kinds of businesses, let's go through them here. Someone says, I want to be queen. I love it. I love it. What does this mean? It means that some of us start businesses because we want a business to employ us. So you can start a bit, and there's nothing wrong with this. It can be a small business that you say, for the next 20 years, I'm going to have a business that allows me to pay my rent, to feed my children, to build a retirement fund, and to buy a house. And so I'm going to have a boutique store, maybe a retail store, or I'm going to have an HR consultancy. I'm going to keep it very small because I don't want to have a lot of stress where I'm hiring 10 people. I have to do all this stuff with taxes. And, I want a small business that I can control that also gives me flexibility. Another way a lifestyle business could look is somebody who says that I love making cakes. From the time I was a baby, everybody has said my cakes are beautiful. And so I feel a sense of creative expression when I create these kinds of houses, or when I create this kind of dress, or when I create this kind of cake. That's the main purpose of that business, is for you to express yourself. It's great if you can make money, but it's very different if you come into a business saying, so that's where you want to be clean, because you want to really control the business. You want it to be an expression of yourself, and you want it to kind of fit into your lifestyle as it is. There's another dynamic which you can say, I want to be rich, meaning I want to build a big, big business that I'm known for. I'm famous as that person does this kind of business. Why is it different? Because if you want to be rich, to have a very big business, it has a very different route that you take. That business means you likely need to bring people into the business who you don't know. They say that, for example, if I created Google, which is now worth several hundreds of billions now, it means that if I was Laila who had that idea, other investors come in, I list it on the stock exchange, I could end up owning 1% of something that's 100 billion worth. But that's a trade-off. So if I want control and I want the company to look like me and to be reflecting my values and my look, then that is really queen business. You cannot have a very large business on your own. You have to bring in partners. You have to bring in financiers. All those people who invest in you have a different opinion. You'll need a board of directors. So as I've said, there's nothing wrong with being queen, but just know that it's slightly different. The level of control you have and creative expression and how much it looks like you is very different than if you want to be a very large business owner. That necessitates bringing in people. And then, so we have the lifestyle business that tends to be small. As all of you know who are Africans, there's also a medium or small and growing businesses. Some businesses that you know from when you were very young. It's a school in your neighborhood, or a dry cleaner, or a certain clinic. These are businesses that are profitable, they're sustainable. That's why they've been there for 30 years. But you can see that the ambition of the owner is not to become big or to be known. They just keep a low profile. And then scaling up is the one where you say, I have this business, but I want it to be Google, right? So all of those are slightly different in the motivation of the person. And they're also different in the way that you finance them, the way that you put skills into them and talent, and the way that you think about the business. So knowing yourself is very important. Next slide, please. So again, you might already be in business. If you're already in business, you could possibly be in a business for 10 or 20 years without knowing what business you're in. I have seen this a lot. You start a business, you start hustling, then you're going week to week to week, trying to stay afloat. Whether you're successful or not, businesses are all absorbing. You can find yourself 10 years later in a business where you are running a lifestyle business when you had gotten into this thinking it was scaling. Or you have a scaling business, but it doesn't feel right for you. You really wanted a lifestyle business. So assess your personal commitment and your fit for the business. Always ask yourself, am I running a business or am I self-employed? Because some people say I have a business, but what all you are is really a freelancer or a consultant. That's self-employment, which is a little bit different than those other businesses we talked about. In this business, or any business, the right career choice for me, there's a lot of pressure now in the market where it's very sexy, very fashionable to be an entrepreneur. It's the same thing with being a leader. But I always tell people that business is not the best career choice for everybody. And I'm not saying that it's just a personality. I think it also has to do with whether or not it's going to give you the outcome you're looking for in your life. Entrepreneurships in particular has a lot of illusions. There's a lot of myths around entrepreneurship. Let's go to the next slide. We talk a bit about those myths. One common myth is that it's about the idea. Ladies, it's not about the idea. Many people even say, I have this idea. I don't want to tell anybody about it because they'll steal it and run away with my idea. No, businesses are about execution. It's about execution. I hear as an investor 100 ideas a day. People write to me all the time asking me to invest in their businesses. But sometimes I've heard that same idea from 50 other people. The person you invest in is the person who will execute the idea, who will bring it to life, not the person who has thought it. It's not about the idea. Entrepreneurship is better than employment. As I say, it's very fashionable now to be an entrepreneur, but both of them have pros and cons. Life is about trade-offs. If you get something, you usually have to give something else. And the moms especially know all about this. There's studies that show that there's a lot of illusions with employment, and that sometimes if you stay in employment, you actually have better economic outcomes, job security, benefits, health, other things than if you go into business. It's not for every business in any circumstance, but do not be down on your job or feel that there's shame in being employed, because that has its own value. You have to suffer through. I'm not a believer that you have to keep carrying on in a business that's not working. Make sure that you have positive unit economics. You can give it a short period of time to turn around, but you've really got to look at your metrics so that the business loves you back. There's a joke we have where I love my business, I love my customers, I love my employees, but this business doesn't love me back. We're not here for suffering. Life is not suffering. You are here, you have a limited amount of time. Where do you sell? You're investing your time and your energy. You need to get a return for all of that. So be very careful. If you've been 5 years into this business, you're still suffering, you're not seeing anything, we need to talk on the side, right? Then the other thing is to focus on the return. So entrepreneurs have great imaginations, they're creative, they see their future, and they focus on the return. But I always say that one of the wisest things I have learned in my business journey is to focus on the downside, not always the upside. There's a saying we have that if I reverse the 2 worst mistakes I have made financially, I would be very, very rich. What does that mean? That we're trying to teach you not just how to make money, but how to keep money. How do you manage your money? How do you reduce risk? You don't want to work for 5 years, you build something great, you've sacrificed your time, and then because you didn't cover your taxes, you're shut down. So learning to manage risk, learning to read the room, to understand politics and how it might affect you, reading the papers so you understand the currency exchange rate, macroeconomics. All of this is not about just the return. It's also about reducing the losses. That's what that means. And finally, I need an investor. Many times in business, you're running a business and you think it's all about money. If I just found some more money, if somebody just gave me a loan, this business would work. Remember, and I will say this many times, that the best financing for your business is the customer. And you really want a business where loans are optional, investors are optional. The best businesses are those that are profitable, but not just profitable, but cash heavy. Cash is coming through the door. Love your customers. That's the financing we love most. And again, as investors, you often come into businesses and you realize this business, the issue is not money. It's the founder, or it's the team, or it's something about the market. It's not always about money. So don't always think your issues are financial. Look at your business model, look at your marketing, look at your management, and see if there's a way you need to pivot or change things so that your customers are paying most of your bills and are providing most of your money. External should be optional, not the thing that keeps your business alive. Okay, so these are some of the common myths. We'll leave that segment and get into the money segment. Let's talk about money, ladies. Now, there's some people who really don't like to talk about money, and we women are famous for avoiding the money conversation. But I say that we are Africans, and we, the entrepreneurs of Africa, the female entrepreneurs of Africa, are going to save this continent. We are going to save this continent because we're going to create jobs, and with jobs come dignity to families. With income comes people who are able to educate their kids. These are our employees. They're going to be people who are able to keep a roof over their heads. They're going to access healthcare because of us. We are extremely important. And so we need to learn how to grow these businesses. And there is no shame in making money, because if you make money, you can save other people by providing employment, by helping them out when they have problems. We must learn to have a love for wealth, a love for good wealth. Right? We talk about shared growth, we talk about green growth, but Africa needs to grow. So I want us to stop this ambivalent talk we are hearing on Twitter and other places where people are beginning to say that there's some shame in loving business or people building wealth or entrepreneurship. I want you all to have money. I want us all to have money so that Africa can blossom and prosper and thrive. The problem with money is that when you are really starting from that place where you're a small business, you'll find that there's NGOs, micro enterprises, and other people who give money to very small businesses, including safe circles. On the other hand, if you're a big corporate, if you're Absa Kenya or a listed company, they have access to all kinds of loans just on their cash flows. The people who struggle most to get financing are us. We are called the missing middle, because what happens is that you don't have enough assets yet in the form of cash or property for for banks to feel they can lend you comfortably. They feel you're very risky. We've seen that some large businesses are able to give one property of their many properties, which they can borrow a loan against, and that becomes their working capital facility. When you're a small business, you don't have that luxury. On the other hand, some of the loans that are given out as microfinance loans are too small for you. Sometimes somebody will say 500,000 shillings, let's say $5,000 is a loan, and your business is too big. You can't do much with that. So you end up in what we call the missing middle for financial solutions. Some of the large organizations feel like it's very difficult to deal with smaller companies because they can't understand the risk. They don't know, you're too many, you're too small. It takes a lot of time and money to serve you. So they stay away from small businesses. This is what we mean when we say the missing middle. This is a complete challenge, and it's a challenge where even getting investors to come in at that side can be very difficult. So what I advise is that for the foreseeable future, this problem is going to continue. There's new things coming in now and new investors, especially me now as an angel investor. I'm in more and more angel groups where you'll find that there's people who are able to give early money to small businesses. This was not the case even 10 years ago. So things are getting better. However, you really need to understand that if you can have a business, as I've said before, that is financed with fewer loans and more more of your customers, even those loans that you then approach, you'll find many times people say that the banks come to them when they don't need the bank, right? So that's because they look at your finances and they see that you're generating cash that you can pay them back with. So this brings us back to cash. You really want to work on customers. Exactly. Somebody says, I need more customers. That's a big take home. Go back and make sure that the product that you're providing is a product that many customers want. They want to pay you for it. They're paying you at a profit, so you're taking something home. If your business was a creative business that's not doing that for you, please take a very hard look in the mirror and make sure that even if it's a lifetime business, a lifestyle business, it's something that supports you. Otherwise, leave the business and go into something that can support you and your dreams. Remember that your life energy, your time, your effort is very, very precious. And this time you have as a young person is a precious time. You can take a few risks, but also don't squander it. So we say, look for a business model that is asset light, meaning you're not putting a lot of your money into things that aren't paying you back. Focus on profits, focus on cash. If you're not seeing cash, there's something that's wrong with your business. You can pivot or you can leave it. You can say goodbye. Ladies know if a relationship is not working, you can walk away, right? But these are the metrics we were talking about. But you also need positive paranoia. What do I mean by this? Understand that in the environment now with all the tech that is happening, it's very, very easy to get disrupted. If you get too comfortable, especially if things are going very well, it is easy for you to forget about your customer, to forget about growth, and to lose your hustle, to lose that mojo, to lose the fire. So we want you to always be looking around and looking at who is it who could take my market? Who is it that could replace me? Are my customers passionate about me? Next slide, please. So here are we're going to talk about the money itself now real quick. Seed money, when you start, we talk about family, friends. These are the people who give you that initial funding. Some people fund from their employment. That's what I did in many of my businesses. But we also have people who can invest in you. But at that early stage, you just have an idea. These people invest in you just because they love you. Sometimes they even don't believe in the business. It's just they're trying to be there for you. So we say family, friends, and founders. People used to say family, friends, and fools, because they're investing in this early business, but we have revised that. And we say people who invest in you early are co-founders. So look around and see who might put money into your business. Then there's angel investors. As I say now, we have ABAN, Africa Digital. We have the Africa Business Angels Network, which is a network of angel groups all around Africa. So you can find somebody in your town who funds early businesses. The great thing with them is they'll ask you tough questions. They'll only put their money into a good business. So it can be a way for you to also test your idea and make sure you're on the right track. As I explained, I've been an angel investor for a very long time. Now I only invest in groups, seldom on my own, not like in the early days. But as I've explained, this model can work because Africa Digital Media Institute, a large company now, we won the top 100 companies in Kenya last year. That award for digital transformation. And this was an idea from my partner who approached me as an angel investor. So it can work and it's possible, but always know that the business has to be good and the founders have to be solid. And then after that, as you go a little bit further down, you can approach lenders and banks to support your business. So these are some of the funding options that you have. Next. Yes, the other thing that's really important, I have to make a quick plug for ABSA. Why do I say this is important? And remember, I told you that one of the myths is that it's about the return, how much money you make. But I'm saying that after today's talk, we're all going to be wiser, isn't it? And we're going to say it's also about how much you keep. You can lose your business because you didn't take care of your taxes, or you didn't understand your regulator, or some other risk. You didn't take care of your customers somehow. That can be a problem. But there's also very simple things that you can do. So we're going to talk about insurance as a way to cap the downside. We said you have to keep an eye out for the downside. So for why insurance is important is because you have key man risk. Key man risk is a lot of us have a business where you're the key man. The key man is somebody with whom the business cannot survive. It's not something that's great about small businesses. We want businesses, even investors prefer businesses where they can see there's a team, so that if one person is sick or is out for some reason, the business still runs and there's systems and processes. However, when a business is like that, there's an insurance specifically to insure your business and protect it against key man risk. There's also life insurance. Remember that I have said that your life is precious, which means that if you have an income that is supporting the family or is contributing to the family and you lose your life, you want your family to get something. So life insurance can play that role. You also want to understand IP. IP is intellectual property. Make sure you've registered your trademarks. Make sure that your name is registered so that somebody else doesn't come, use your name and take away all your customers or cause market confusion. So all of this is a case for you to really look at insurance and not think that, oh, I'm young, insurance is not for me, it's too complicated. Look at insurance and look at the solutions that are out there for people like you so that you don't lose everything. But remember the biggest risk. I say the biggest risk, in spite of all the risks that we have, the way the world is going right now, the biggest risk is the risk of disruption. As I said earlier, if you're not taking care of your customers, there's all kinds of different tools from AI to other things that can come and blow you out of the water, even if you've been there for the last 10 years. IP is intellectual property. Intellectual property. This is the name of your company, the name of the the knowledge that you've accomplished over time, that's your intellectual property. There's all kinds of different ways that you can protect it. But as I was saying, the biggest risk is really around the risk of complacency. So always make sure that in addition to the other risks, you're always keeping an eye to your customer, whether they've changed, whether they're going somewhere else, whether if you have a little shack where you're selling soup, always look up and down the street to make sure somebody hasn't opened a shack 2 doors down whose soup is tastier than yours. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And the next. Okay, talking about disruption, we're closing just now and then we'll open up to questions and then I'll hand it over to you. We are saying now at ADMI, we work very hard, as I explained. And again, if you can follow me at Laila Masharia, you'll be able to get much more into this that we can't cover today. Or you can follow the Africa Digital Media Institute. And we talk about these issues around disruption and how you can prepare yourself for changes in the world of work and changes in the world of business. Do not be left behind. So the world of work is changing fast, but are you changing? And so we have a bunch of tools, next slide, please, to help you really understand what kinds of skills you can put into place to address this. I don't know if you guys have heard about VUCA, but this is an expression that talks about what we've been going through at present. Many of you know that someone was laughing the other day and telling me, I'm not having a tough day, I'm having a tough decade. Yes, I'm also on LinkedIn, Laila Masharia. So what are we saying is happening in the environment? People are talking about a VUCA environment. There's complexity, there's volatility, there's ambiguity, there's uncertainty. This is VUCA. And it's really around this idea that you guys know how we're feeling, what we've been through. There's been a global pandemic. Next, Russia is fighting with Ukraine. The next thing, our currencies are depreciating. Just when you think you've finished one thing, you're going into the next. So this is what we call a VUCA environment. And so what we want to do is to work with you so that you're able to prepare for these changes and be in a position where you're able to respond. Next slide, please, as we close. Yeah, so we have many reasons why people are starting businesses. Some say they want to do, or why people are coming back to learn more. Some say it's to start a side hustle, someone to get a promotion, someone to become a thought leader. But overall, at Accelerated, we have a bunch of tools to help you and your business start to prepare itself for the future of work and to avoid this big risk of being disrupted and washed away when you've worked so hard. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is Accelerated. We have a number of digital transformation tools that can help you if you have a business to prepare for the AI that is coming up, to help you automate, to help you be leaner, to help you look at your competitors and become more agile. A lot of this comes down to people. Who are your people, and are they in a position where you're equipping them to take these changes well and to respond to these changes, starting with knowing themselves, but being able to understand the environment around them, and then keep changing themselves and have the learning agility to be future ready. Next slide. Yes, so we've come to the end of our presentation. So the take homes are, when you start your business or you start anything, know yourself. Start with me, understand your different insecurities, your strengths and your weaknesses. Then from there, go into understanding your marketplace, go into examining your model and more. And then when it comes to money, there's many, many tools. There's loans, there's investors, small investors, big investors, all here to help you grow your business. But all of them will love you more if you love your customers most and you have a profitable cash-ready business. That's how to attract investors. That's how to attract lenders. And that's how to make sure that you get what you need out of your business, because you're important and you're here to save Africa. So we need you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leila. The word I've just been saying today is explosive. This was really, really awesome. I also took notes, right? I love when you said that businesses are more about execution. Most entrepreneurs, they have lovely businesses. When you sit with them, if you're doing mentorship and you ask, okay, what do you want to do in your business? They have these very great ideas and plans, but they're not doing it. It's all like it's most like talk, plan. So it's good that we brought that to light, that it's important that people are executing. Don't just have ideas or go about saying, oh, I had this great idea and then someone did it before me. If you're sleeping on it, someone would do it. They'll get funding for it, and it's just going to be another idea that you did not execute. So that really stood out for me. Also, when you talked about the disruptors, like that is also very legit. Every day business is changing, the times are evolving. If people are not keeping up with the trends, if people are not ready to change their business, then they would fall out or they will be left behind. So these are like great points. It's good to access capital, it's good to find investors, but you want, like she said, it's good to know ensure that you love your customers and that your business also loves you. That is that was very insightful. So in the next 15 minutes, ladies, we are going to be taking questions. I would like to take one or two people that want to ask a live question. So what I mean by ask a live question, I'll unmute you and you're going to ask. So if you're that person, I see that their hands already up. So if your hands are up and you did not want to ask a question, please put it down so that I take only the people that really wants to ask a question. But while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to read the ones I have in the comments section here. So someone said, how do you do your market research? How do you do the market research needed in a business plan to obtain funding?
Do we want one at a time or we take a bunch?
Anyone that works for you, what do you want? Do you want?
Take a few. I'll take them down.
Okay, so another one is saying, how do I assess investors and business angels? Then another one is saying, please address financing post the COVID-19 era. What needs to be done in order to revamp SMEs financing? So after these three, I will take a live question and then we circle back again.
Okay, great. These are wonderful questions. So market research now, that's a big question. Remember that what you're Oh, yes, it is. It is. What you're looking for, I said, is to understand the number of people who want you, what it is that you want to sell. So before you start, there's a whole field now that's growing called design thinking and product development. And what this field is trying to do for us is to avoid the past where I have an idea or I think something is missing in the world and I put a lot of money and start the thing only to find out it was only me that thought it was a problem. So the first thing you need to do is say in your mind, as you're saying here, that I'm going to take a lot of time and trouble to listen very, very carefully to my prospective users, understand their pain points, sometimes we don't spend always to avoid a pain. Sometimes it's to access an opportunity. So understanding why it is people are coming to you and why they're willing to pay is very important. Once you do that, you have to size the market. What does this mean? You have to understand how many of those people there are. Even if you meet one person who says, oh, I love your cake, even though it costs $10, I love it so much, I'm going to pay. You need to make sure that there's enough people in your market who can afford the $10 for a cake, so that you can serve 1,000 of them in a year, which gives you your $1 million business. Otherwise, what you could find is that there are some people who are willing to pay, but they're too small to be what we call a total addressable market, a market that you can really say is your minimum viable market. And there's a whole field, as I say, around that. But that's how to think about it. Start by really testing your idea. Don't fall in love with your business idea. Be very skeptical about it. Always try and substantiate it with data in case you're, as we say, drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? We want you to be very rigorous and to be metric-based. Then the question about where to access investors. Remember that I said in the beginning, even 10 years ago, there didn't used to be a lot of investors supporting new companies. Now there's very many. One option could be to join an incubator or an innovation hub, where you are in a community of people building businesses. And in those cases, there are investors who usually are plugged into those communities in your country. So that's one organic way to do it. Another way is to approach your family, as we talked about, family, friends, and other small investors who might want to support you because they trust you and they want to invest in your dream. So that can be another set of investors. We don't always think of them as such, but it's important to see them that way. And I always say, if people took a risk on you early, try your best to reward them over time. Don't take them for granted. And then the last bucket is what we talked about, these formal angel investors. These are communities of people who exist in all our countries in Africa now. There's a network if you want to find out who is in your country. I'm one of the mentors of the Africa Business Angels Network, ABAN. Look at them online, and they will be able to tell you who in your community is funding, which angels in your community are funding small businesses. So those are the different options when you're early. Later on, when you become bigger, you're cash flow positive, you're scaling, there's a whole other set of investors who will come in. They're called venture capitalists. That's still early stage. And then after that, you have private equity, who are people who come in when you're quite big, quite established. And after that, you can also list on the stock exchange in your country. But that's when you're much later, much more established. ABAN is the Africa Business Angels Network. It's based in Cameroon, but they have network across the entire country, the entire continent, where they will tell you who are the angel groups, the groups of investors in your country that invest in small businesses. Then there's this question about financing post-COVID, another great question. Financing post-COVID has really changed. One of the things that I noticed when we're in Absa Bank, for example, is that it's become much more digital. So now everybody understands that digital is the way to go. And so you'll find that mobile money is becoming much more common. And you'll find that digital lending is also becoming much more common. So many people are now able to access financing through those channels in a way that before it was difficult. People used to insist on going to the branch when they want to see their banker. But now we all know that we can bank on our phones or online, and that really does the trick and saves you the money of going in. So this is some of the things that are trying to bridge that missing middle, the gap for small businesses that we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really very informative. So there's one question that is really great that I want to take, but I want the live people that want to ask live questions to go ahead. So Omolara, I've asked you to unmute. Let me know if you want to go now. And if you're not ready, Muleya, let me see. Muleya, so I've permitted you to speak. You can unmute and speak. Any of you, Omolara, Muleya, people can go. And please, if you do not want to speak, please do not raise your hand so that I do not call you if you do not want to speak. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Lila? Okay, so I wanted to know why you're not on it. Let me look for another person. Lisbeth, I'm going to allow you to talk now. I'm coming. So Lisbeth, you can unmute. Are you there? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Lisbeth, and I'm speaking from Ghana. Hello. So very insightful today that. Yeah, my question is, as an angel investor yourself, what do you look in? I mean, what do you consider? The things that you look in for businesses before you invest?
A great question. It's a whole other workshop, right? But so happens is that for me, over time, there's what I used to do before and what I do now. Of course, as you become more experienced, you get into a sweet spot. And there's some things I prefer. For example, I like businesses that have a direct social impact. Although we've said this is Africa and creating jobs is social impact in itself, right? So we don't say you have to do anything in particular. Having a strong business is social impact in Africa. I believe that strongly. But for myself, I love intervening in health, in education, and also in data. What I mean by data is that I find that sometimes I used to invest in the US where I used to do real estate. If you want to add a bedroom to your house in New Jersey, there's something called a multiple listing service where you're able to tell that a house in your neighborhood with 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, let's say 3 bedrooms with 2 baths is this level. If you add a bath, the price goes up by this amount. There's so much data that allows you to make decisions. In Africa, we don't have that. And so I love to invest in businesses that can help us have the data to make business decisions. So what is that saying? Number one, understand what the investor invests in, and even whether they're investing, because although somebody could be an angel investor, it could be that you come to me in June and I've exhausted my funds for that year. I'm not investing anymore. Or it could be that you have an agricultural business, but I don't do ag. So that fit is very important. The second thing is really about the founder. For me, what I have found over time, because we talked about VUCA and the situation changes a lot, you could go into a situation thinking this business will go that way. And then you get information that shows that you need to go a different way. If it is the founder who you're investing in who will make those decisions. So I try very hard not to fall too much in love with the idea or even with the business model, because those things might need to pivot. Instead, I look for somebody who has character, who is humble, who is teachable. I usually invest in businesses that have traction. I personally don't invest in just ideas. I like to invest in something that has moved a little further down, but that's my set of preferences. Then after that, there's a lot of work we do around due diligence. You remember my 7 Ps and my 7 scale-up Ms. We would sit together. We would look at each of those. I'd want to understand you. This is the me pillar. Is this the right person? Do they have the character? Are they in this for the right reasons? Then from there, we'd go into model, into market, into management, back to metrics. All of that, we would do it together until I'm comfortable as part of my due diligence that I didn't do. But I do want to let you know that many times investors have constraints. Nobody has unlimited money. So sometimes they say no because the timing is bad, or they've already invested for that year, or they're taking a break, or they're just really busy. They don't have the time to go into your particular request. So one of the things you need to do is learn to be persistent and to ask many different investors and think of all those different avenues we talked about. Be in your hub, talk to your family and friends, talk to angel investors, all of those, and you'll be able to find the money to start going.
Awesome. Thanks. So we have a lot of questions. I'm going to take one from YouTube because there are people following on YouTube so that I don't leave them out. As we are taking that, also, if you want to speak, please remember, ladies, if you do not want to speak, take down your hand. And if you want to speak, put it up. I love when you said they should also know what their investor wants to invest in, because there are people that go to brood people that are not interested in that kind of business or in that industry. So it's very important to know what the investor wants to invest in. So on YouTube, someone is asking, how can SME solve the problem of missing the middle?
Yeah, for this one, I'm usually somebody who believes in power and can do, but this doesn't mean that you complete. In fact, I have a saying, myself and some colleagues at Centum, that you guys are having a recession, but we have chosen not to participate, right? So, but in this particular one, this missing middle is a structural problem. It's something that is beyond you. There's many people working on trying to solve it, but it's something that is difficult to solve. And sometimes I'll find people who are business owners blame themselves for something that has to do with just the structure of their economy. So for example, if you're coming up with a new small business in some of the Western countries, there's a lot of support. There's a small business administration. Some of these things we're talking about, looking for financing, it's actually as part of the government. And sometimes it's not always money you need. It could be, structural support, information like we've talked about, so that you're able to know what's happening in your sector. So all of that is missing in our environment just because we're in Africa. And of course, different countries have different levels of support in this area. So what I'm trying to say with this is not that you should give up, but also that you should be aware that sometimes when you're struggling, it's not your fault. It's because there are things in the grander macroeconomics. Like if the currency is depreciating precipitously, you can put it on yourself and say, I'm a bad business person, but maybe it's not you, or if there's an election and then the economy slows down because of that. So the thing with this missing middle, it's part of that. Because we don't have, a lot of people don't yet have addresses. We don't know who everybody is. The money is not very more formal. A lot of money is moving in the informal sector. In some of our countries, 90% of the economy is informal. So if you're a lender, how do you make sense of that? How do you price risk? This is what we mean by that. How do you know that somebody will pay you back? If they borrow, they can disappear and you don't know where to find them, which is why our banks insist on collateral, because if they can't trust you or don't know where to find you or don't know how to, or who to trust, sometimes it's better to have an asset that they can sell. And then they write it in such a way that no matter what happens, they'll be able to sell it, right? If you disappear. That is a structural problem. And so what we're trying to do with the missing middle, there's an organization called Aspen that I'm involved in, and other people who are working on this problem, is really to see if there's a way to help banks be able to get a 360 view of who you are. So they're able to understand what your income really is, what your character is. That's why we have more of our countries have credit bureaus that are able to show whether you're paying back your loans. All of these things will help lenders feel more comfortable paying and lending to you. So that's how we're trying to address the missing middle.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And when you talk about collateral, that brings us to the next question, because this has to do with collateral and being a startup. So she said, Dr. Leila, please advise, what can I do to secure finance? Her background is she has a franchise restaurant, or she had, and she lost the business. She lost all her money and the assets, and now she's starting from scratch. Unfortunately, she does not have her own capital like she did before, and she's struggling to get funding support in South Africa because she said because she doesn't have collateral, it's hard for her to get funding support. However, her business is at an MVP stage, so she just has a minimum viable product. She has secured one investor, but because she's still a startup, the investor did not give sufficient funds. She wants to know if an angel investor will be interested in her, since most investors are not keen on investing in startups.
Exactly. Okay. Wow, this one again, it's a big one, because if I was evaluating,
women came ready.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you came to me and you said, invest in me, here, I'm not going to tell you, let me tell you about how I would think about you. So the first thing, I've told you that in my particular case as an angel, I don't invest in ideas, minimal viable products. I invest in somebody who has a bit of traction. So for me, for example, I would not be a fit for you. However, you have a very important weapon. Actually, you have two things that tell me there's something special about you. So one, you have done this business before and you secured a franchise. I don't know the circumstances under which you lost it, but many more seasoned investors know that sometimes somebody who has failed before and is coming back can be a very good investment. So that's number one. The other thing around this is that in the first round, you might have invested your own money, everything was yourself. But usually if you have lost that and you're coming at it again, you're usually actually much more pragmatic about letting other people in. Maybe the first time you started it with a queen mentality, but now you're starting it with more of a rich mentality. So you might be more humble about bringing in other people, starting with co-founders, so that you're sharing that risk from the beginning. So it's a very big plus in my mind if I was investing in you, because the reason why I invest in people who are more established, I want to see that it's somebody who understands entrepreneurship. It's not a romantic idea, and that they have that grit that has gotten them through a few challenges to a point where they have some revenue, they've kept some customers like that. So that's a good sign. The other very good sign about you is that you've secured one investor. So it might not be sufficient. You might be feeling frustrated at the pace that you're taking to move forward. But that already tells me that there's something about your pitch and your ability that has gotten you one investor. I do think you're a very good candidate for angels. So look at ABAN, Africa Business Angel Network online, and find out what the networks, the angel groups are in your country, and see if you can pull together a pitch and tell them the story just like you've told us. I ran this business before through some circumstances, I lost it, but I already have a new investor. I'm coming back. Investors love that because it means you're somebody who bounces back. So I wish you luck. I think it's going to be wonderful. Keep going.
All right, thank you so much for that. Okay, I still have another. I see Stella is here. Hi, Stella.
Hi.
Okay, so we've not gotten to the panel session, so we are still on another session. This is the session before the panel session.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, do you an email or a text when we are ready to start?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Great. Okay, so Dr. Juliana, I see that your hands are raised and you've unmuted, so you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Juliana Mumo Kisimbi. I'm actually zooming in from Kenya. I have a question for you, Dr. One, are you an alumna of the Kenya High School by any chance? No, it's all right. So good.
No, but I admire them, Boomerians.
Okay, I'm one of them. So I just wanted to find out from you, financial literacy is a gap in as much as we are having all these initiatives to fund SMEs. Most of them die in between growth and break even because perhaps they don't understand financial literacy. So how are you planning to address that? I think it's an issue. I work a lot with SMEs. I have been a champion of SMEs for youth and women. I've done several documents. I've been a champion of the SCFTA. I've been a champion of e-commerce for UNCTAD. So I know all these constraints and all these bottlenecks that are there. There is a gap for financial literacy, and most of them don't understand their finances. That's why most SMEs die. So how would you address that? Then my final question is, I have a friend of mine. We were together in Boma, and she started a cosmetic, I would say beauty therapy SME, and she's doing quite well. Right now, the sales are there. We have everything done, like invoicing, but we outsource production. So we need money to buy machines to produce. Because right now our production is in Eldoret, and usually it's when the person who produces for us has less capacity, or they don't need the production for that day. So it happens when they can accommodate. So it's an SME with solid financial backing. It's grown over the years. It's called Karembu, and I think I should sell you some of our products. You'll love them. We make scrubs made out of coffee and molasses, and I wanted to see whether you can assist us to get someone to give us machines. It's my side hustle, so I do the marketing.
Okay. Oh, fascinating. Both two great questions. I think the first one around financial literacy, I completely agree. This is a very big challenge. And it's a challenge at the personal level, but it's even a challenge in companies. You'll find sometimes that there's even a finance team of good accountants, but when it comes to this ability of really understanding how to plan for finances, how to think big and have a strategic view, it's a very big gap across many of our companies. But even financial literacy at the personal level, because even when I was telling you that the first step before you go into something is knowing yourself and understanding what are your own ambitions. I mentioned at the beginning that there's a lot of people who still find money very shameful to discuss. As women as many women, and men too, though, but many more women are nervous to say, I want to be rich, right? I want to create a big business. I want to make a very big impact. And so that whole process of getting control of your money and speaking about yourself, your career, and your life from a place of power is a very, very big gap that I see. And I do think finances is a big part of it, not just the literacy, but also the ability, once you have it, to not get into, we talk about financial psychology. There's people who lose everything they have because they feel that once they have enough, it doesn't sit well. So we really want to invest in this area because it's the flip side of the discussion we're having about growing a business well. This question about Karembu is interesting. Again, I won't talk specifically about this business, but a couple of things came to mind when I heard you speaking. So one thing is that when I hear that it's about specific organic scrubs, it sounds to me like a lifestyle business, right? Why do I say this? Because in Africa, many of us have small markets, and small markets don't lend themselves to hyper specialization. So I have found many people saying, I'm doing just cupcakes in Nairobi. Unless you're doing cupcakes in a factory that's going into Carrefour and Chandarana and Naivas, scale. Usually, if you're doing very beautiful cupcakes that are very perishable, that tells me that that business is unlikely to scale. So what we do is we really want to make sure that this business, you've gone to the beginning. And I always say we start with I, right? With me. What did you want this business to reach? Because that will tell us about what kinds of products and approaches and partners and financing is best for you. Having said that, you're saying that it's doing very well at so far, and it's gotten to a place where you're cash positive and all of that. This sounds to me like getting a CapEx loan from a bank is possibly in the cards. You'd have to really understand your cash flow so you make sure you can service that loan comfortably. Because remember, I say, even if you're investing in the business, I want you to be taking money home from day one. Because remember, I'm saying that I'm here for you, right? And we want your business to love you back. So we really want to make sure that you're able to do that. If the bank is not willing to lend to you, can you say a little bit more about why? What do they say is the issue? Is it because your cash flow can cover the loan?
Coming. Dr. Jenna, you have to raise your hand.
Dr. Kisimbi.
Okay, let me allow her to talk. I actually muted her.
Okay. She's here.
You can go ahead now, Dr. Juliana.
The thing is, we tried the bank, because the bank says we're still not ready for bank lending. And we're also worried about the interest rates. They're too high.
Yes,
that's one thing that is really putting us off. As it is, I've been trying to get into the export market. So I've been actually selling. I've sold to almost 20 African countries, and they love the product and they keep buying.
Amazing.
Yes.
I think you'd be a good candidate, and you can tell me if you've tried this too. Remember, I told you we have structural issues, some of which we can't all solve kind of this year, in this forum. But this sounds to me, because you have a social impact, especially depending on who you're sourcing from, this could be a very good candidate for either grants, social impact grants, or social impact investment, because they can cushion you as you get to the next level. There's quite a few that are available now, especially that are targeting women-led companies, especially you where it's a product that is exportable. That's what I would look for. So really look for social impact. Remember to tell people if you're a women-led business, especially if you're sourcing from local farmers or these products are organic, all of those have a niche where you'll find that people are willing to support you, either with grants or with concessionary finance, and support you to scale.
Great. Let me see. Okay, so the questions we have, if we want to take all of them, we'll just close for today. We'll be here till like midnight. We have a lot of questions, but since that most of you are asking questions that she has already answered, I'm going to skip that. But just to give like an answer for all of you asking how to follow her, it's Dr. Leila Makara at LinkedIn. There's at IgniteHER. We have also dropped that in the chat box, so just please look out for it. For people asking about what ABAN means, she has already said it's Angel Business Investors. ABAN, Angel Business Investors Network. Yeah, so just go ABAN on Google and you're going to see that, right? So that we don't keep asking questions that have been answered. All right, so there's one question I saw that was really good. Also, people asking the same questions, how do we communicate with her? That is also how to reach her. You go to her LinkedIn or you visit the business page and someone is going to respond to you. Okay, so I have a question in French because I want to ensure that we are touching everybody. So let me read it first to myself and then translate it. Okay. So this question, are you sure that we're not going to need an interpreter for this? Wait, let me skip it. I'm going to read it. I don't want to spend time reading it and then we are not answering the questions. I'm going to come back to that. Let me get back to it. So someone asked a question that most times they see grants or investment opportunities. They are mostly for sectors in agriculture and not other sectors like fashion and beauty. So what do they do, or how do they build a business that is attractive for investors in general?
I would say that they need to keep looking, because I am aware of some grants that target this area of fashion. So just keep looking for people who either are focused on your sector. I know there's Fashionomics under the AFDB. There's also something that the International Trade something did, still focusing on this. So they put you in the process of an incubator. No, I'm very much on Twitter. I'm very much on Twitter at Laila Masharia. So what happens is that they'll put you in an incubator where they're giving you finance support, helping you refine your business model in the process as a part of an incubator or part of an accelerator. And in fact, we're in the process of starting another one very soon. But the whole idea is once you're able to fit into that community and they understand your business, they'll invest. That's one, or they'll help you find investors. Then there's another one, which is really around that's sector specific, but you can look at other people who are looking at, female-led investors, for example, or people who are in some other kind of niche, and you can approach it that way. So keep looking, you will find somebody, but be patient, because sometimes some people will have you go through a process of mentoring so that they get to know you. And then once your business is more established or groomed, as we call it, polished, then they'll be able to help you get to investors.
All right, thank you. So because we don't want to drain Dr. Leila, I'm going to be taking the French question and we'll try to wrap it up. So she's trying to say that she's building a new business, and she knows, she has heard that when she registered her business, she'll have to start paying a lot of taxes. So because of that, she's worried about registering her business. However, any investor, is a funny question, but there is a question, but any investor she sees keep saying that, oh, they're not going to, they want to see her registration documents before they register. So she's asking, what do you think she should do? So we'll go slowly on the response so that she would understand since she's French.
Okay. All right. So this is a big question, because a lot of people are thinking about the decision between formalization and remaining informal. All of us know, and there's no African who can pretend they don't understand informal business, because it's all around us. And 90% of our community, of our countries, in some cases, are informal businesses. So you're not registered anywhere, but the money you get, the money you spend, the people you employ, all of this might be written, but it's not within a registered business. That has advantages because it means you are not as accountable. For example, you have more flexibility. And yes, that can be one way to operate. But it's true, as soon as you ask other people to start investing in your business, remember I said that part of the issue with our businesses is they are perceived as risky. They're perceived as perilous because people think you can disappear. They can't find you. But if you're registered, you have a place of business that's a physical place. You pay your taxes. Investors and lenders will feel much more comfortable dealing with you because the impression you're giving is that, one, you have put in a lot of your own money. Very few people think that you can put in money and run off. That's what we call skin in the game. People want to see that you have skin in the game, so that you're here for the long haul. That's the same thing if you have a building. People know that it's a serious business and you're going to give it a real try. So for sure, if you want lenders, definitely if you want grants, you must be a formal business. Even if you're an informal business and they give you grants, it would have to be in the context of a formalized community or something. So I don't think to scale or to really grow, you can avoid formalizing. It's something that's just a requirement.
Awesome. I also wanted to talk about this because we keep telling women or people generally, register your businesses, and people keep running away from it. So it's good that it's being asked here and also that you responded to that. So please register your business. So we are going to take one final question. And I'm taking this question because I also think it's important. I know of a lady that got a huge funding, and because she did not know what to do next, she squandered the money. So the question is, when you get funding, what are the things to prioritize? That was the question.
Oh, interesting. So this is now the money has come. How do you avoid losing or wasting it?
Exactly.
Wow. Yet another seminar. It's just that one. That's not the question.
I'm so sorry.
Many stories of all the things we've done wrong, all the things we've done wrong. We say mistakes are learning.
Mhm.
So in your business, let me just give a few tips. Remember, I said it's not about making money, it's about keeping money. So you're really getting into that topic. Everything that you spend, ask yourself, is this something that is going to serve my customer? That's number one. So don't spend on side things that your customer doesn't really value. Remember also that we're saying you have a top line. We have said that you're taking care of yourself, right? Ladies, your business has to love you back. We're done with loving people who don't love us, right? So you have your top line and you have what you want to get out of this business. Make sure then that your expenses fit within the difference. So please don't do that thing where you get all this money and then you spend it on everybody else, taxes, your suppliers, your employees, and then you have nothing left to take home. So you need to be very careful to make sure that's happening. And remember, we said we love cash businesses now. So you are only getting into businesses now that love you, which means your customers love your product. They're paying you what you're worth. You have enough that you're taking home and it's cash. So you're not stressed all the time trying to meet your bills. All that structuring will help your business be sustainable. But there's a couple of things that I have seen that can make business people lose a lot of money. One of them is very lazy hiring. What do I mean by this? So your husband has a cousin who doesn't have a job. They know they come and work there. Now, I'm not saying this is Africa that you should never hire people who are related to you. It is possible. But what I'm saying is remember that when you're hiring somebody, think about if over the course of a year, I have spent 1 million shillings on hiring this person. If they had come at the beginning of the year and told me, write 1 million shillings to me, would you have written them that check? Probably not. But there's something about hiring that makes people be more casual. By the time so make sure that all the expenses, including the people in your business, are directly solving your customer's problem and are leading to growth. Either you're serving your customer or you're getting more customer. Those are the two things you spend on. And be very, very conservative. You don't have to be very big to be profitable. Why do I say this? You can be small and beautiful. You can say, I have this business, I need finance, so I will outsource my finance service. I'll use a marketer 3 hours a week or 3 days of a week. I'll do this so that you stay small, but you're profitable and powerful and you're working in cash. Sometimes you can have a very large business which looks very good to everybody else, but it's not loving you, right? So that's how I would answer that. As I said, it's a big topic, but we don't want you losing your money after spending all your life energy on this business. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The lady hiring you said is actually the reason the friend I spoke about lost her business. And then not just lady hiring, she was also paying too much than the money she had. So that's why she lost it and had to start again. Dr. Leila, I have no words to say thank you. This has been awesome, very informative. You see that the women, they are not tired. They want to keep asking. It's almost like we're not even in a class, like in a family where you are instructing us, children, you have to do this. This is the right way to go. And it was really, really easy to flow through. You used things we could relate to. That's why I said I like how, you are taking this session because you have both hats. You're investing, you also own a business. So it was just really, really direct and very good, easy for us to understand. The ladies are saying a lot of thank yous in the comment section. Please, let's keep it coming. We are really, really excited. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and this time with us. Ladies, remember that you can follow her at Dr. Leila Makara on LinkedIn, and then IgniteHER on the various social media channels. Please show her that we love her. Go and like her. Any recent post you see on her page, like, let her know that Impact Her Women came. Thank you so much, ma'am. We really appreciate all the love from this part of Africa and from all of us that have joined. Thank you so much. We'd love to do this some other time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me, everybody. Remember, your business must love you, otherwise you leave it. Thank you.
Yes,
all right.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. All right, ladies, I know you enjoyed the session. I see the comments. Yes, I promised you, and when I promise, we deliver. I told you it's going to be fire. If you know you're already feeling ignited, let me know. Guess what? This is just day one. And we're not even done with day one. I see that people can see how this is like the name IgniteHER conference. You cannot leave this conference and you don't have that fire in you, that zeal to push, to move on. So try not to miss any of the sessions. Anybody that you know that owns a business that has not started coming for these sessions or that has not attended, please share the link with them. Ensure that they are here. Okay, before we are going to go on break, we are going to be having, our next session is going to be a panel session. And we are having very beautiful, talented people that have journeyed this business path. They've not just journeyed the business path, they've lost and now they are winning. We are going to be having them come here and tell you how they were able to move their business from startups to where they are today. It's going to be a fun session because you get to hear them firsthand, you get to ask questions, and just as it is, we keep having fun. I see it, I see the I'm ignited. Awesome. Please, when you learn something or you hear a particular thing that sticks, please make sure that you post it on social media, tag Impact Her, tag the speaker that mentioned that, so that we see that you are following. So in this break that we're having, I want to go to social media and see IgniteHER everywhere. I want to see what you have learned. As I also said, we are going to be having freebies. We have a special package for most active people. I'm going to reveal that to you tomorrow, or the MC tomorrow is going to reveal that. Okay, it's actually called Rebrand Her, but I'm not going to tell you what is part of the package, but it's worth dollars. So please try to also be active, right? I've enjoyed myself. I know that people are enjoying yourself. Rachel said so many posts from Dr. Leila. I tell you, I have a full note. I'm sure that before the end of this session, my notes will be full. Yes, love your business and be sure it loves you back. Please, when we go for the break, ensure to come back in time. Ensure to use that moment to post what you have learned and then tag the speaker, tag Impact Her. And most importantly, make sure that you share this with 1 or 2 people so that they join and all of us have fun. I like that people are receiving the, what they call it, the, how do I put it? The signals, right? People get it. Somebody said, we have not even started. That's it. We are just scratching. We are going to keep going. It gets better from here. So don't say that, oh, you've had the best of the session. No, the speakers keep getting better and better. The sessions keep getting better. I see your lovely comments. Somebody said she loves IgniteHER and IgniteHER loves her back. Yes, you're right on that. We love you back. Awesome. So we are going to be having another break for you to grab food, lunch, and for you to rest. Please ensure to come back early. I want to see the energy level up here, right? I don't want us to decrease it. And we are going to also have the DJ play. So at this point, over to the DJ. Okay, sorry, let me tell you when you're meant to come back. We are meant to be back on the session by 1:40. So you have about 37 minutes if my math is not failing me. So thank you so much. For everybody asking about the quiz, we are going to play the quiz at the end of the day. So we are going to deactivate it and start it from the scratch. So Grace, I know you can hear me. We are going to deactivate the quiz and restart it, right? We'll deactivate it and start it. So it's going to start from the top. And at the end of the session for today, we have the quiz. We are going to see in 37 minutes. Bye-bye. Sorry, I forgot to mention, DJ, please give us the song. Thank you. And thank you to the person thanking me. Thank you so much.